Hello everyone, my name is Chloe and today I am back with a brand new video. Welcome to Brunette Bibliophile, where I post bookish videos and writing content. Today we are here with the final video of 2023. And today we're going to be talking about books that I read during the month of December. We're doing the full wrap up for the month. And this is possibly my last wrap up on the channel. At least for the new year, I am going to be trying a new video idea in place of wrap-ups. And I talked about that a little bit in my year-end review video that I posted. I'll link that in the description below if you want to check that one out. But for now, we're going to be talking about books that I read during the month of December. So in total, I read 10 books this month. I also surpassed my Goodreads goal, which was to read 150 books. So we're going to dive right in and talk about all of the books that I read this month. But the first book I actually can't talk about. Some of you may know that there is a current boycott going on against St. Martin's Press and their imprints. And this book is published by one of their imprints. So currently, influencers are not talking about books that are published under this boycott. I would love to talk about this book and support this author, but until St. Martin's Press and Wednesday Books meet the very reasonable demands of Readers for Accountability, I am withholding all reviews and promotion of books under their imprints. To learn more information about the boycott, I will link the channel for Readers for Accountability on Instagram down in the description below, as well as a petition that you can sign as well that is nearly up to 7,000 signatures. So that's the only book that I read this month that's from one of those publishers. So everything else we're going to go ahead forward with talking about. I buddy read an anticipated release of 2023 with Desirai from Libri Labra, whose channel is linked in the description below. And we read With Love from Cold World by Alicia Thompson. This came out in August and we actually both went to her launch for this book. I have a vlog that I'll also link in the description below. But I had such a fun time reading this one. It is set at an attraction. It's like an indoor snow attraction, kind of similar to Snowcat Ridge in Florida. And it's set in Orlando. And I just really enjoyed this book. I feel like I had a really good time with this one and I enjoyed it more than her first book that I read. Although I do want to reread her other romance book and see if I like it just as much, if not more, the second time around. This just had all the wintry holiday vibes that I was looking for and I had a great time with it. I gave this one 4 stars. There's also bisexual representation in this book, which I think was done really well, and the author even mentions in her acknowledgements how she is also bisexual herself. 4 stars. I'm here for the wintry vibes. Next, I read One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus, and this was for the BookTube Chicks book club pick for this month. And this is a young adult mystery centering around these group of kids who were in detention and one of them died and the other 4 are all suspects. I gave this book 3 stars. I was only slightly interested in wondering who actually did it, how Simon died, but ultimately the rest of the story was kind of just meh to me and I wasn't very invested. I'll link our live show down in the description below so you can get more of my thoughts as well as Desirai and Kathleen's, but we all kind of had the same opinion I feel like with this book. 3 stars. I do not plan on continuing the series. Next, I had a buddy read with one of my friends from work and we read Freed by E.L. James. This is 50 Shades Freed as told from Christian's perspective. And I mostly was reading this to complete the Pop Sugar Challenge for 2023 because I needed to read the biggest book on my TBR. Now the biggest book on my TBR is a book in a series that I'm not caught up on yet, so this was the next choice. And it is a thick book. It is 750 pages. And this felt like it was going on forever, but I was here for the guilty pleasure vibes that I get from reading the original trilogy as well. So I gave this one 4 stars. It's a long book. We all know that Christian Grey is a dick, but it was a nice guilty pleasure read and definitely brought me back to reading the original books. Next, I read a highly anticipated 2023 release and a very hyped up book, and it was Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. Now, Ali Hazelwood is one of my favorite authors. She writes some of my favorite romance books, and this is her young adult debut. I'm not gonna lie, I was really nervous with this one because I have been growing away from YA. I did read another YA book from a romance author that I enjoy, and I didn't enjoy the YA book, so I was scared. I would place this one more solidly in the new adult category, and I really wish that there was a marketing category for new adult and even like a section in the bookstore for new adult. I can see how this is YA because she is 18, but this was really more solidly pushing into the new adult area. This book was absolutely worth the hype and I gave it 5 stars. I also wrote a review, which I will link in the description below if you want to check that out. But I am obsessed with this book and I do have 3 copies of it and it was absolutely worth it. 5 stars, absolutely amazing. Really, really solidifying Ali Hazelwood as an auto-buy author for me in all genres, it seems like. I read Lunar Love by Lauren Kung Jessen. This is also the last book that I needed to read to complete my Book of the Month challenge. And I gave this one 4 stars. I've heard a lot of good things about this book, as well as the anticipated sophomore novel from this author. Something that I feel like with this book is, though, that I felt that the main character was very mean to the main male character at some points. And also she was kind of stupid in moments. She just needed to open her eyes and not be so dumb. This was also a buddy read with Desirai from Libri Labra. I think overall we both had a good time with this book, but we both recognized that Olivia is very mean to the main male character. Still a 4-star read, and I definitely anticipate reading this author's next book. Next, I reread one of my all-time favorites, and if you've been around for the past couple of years, you might know that I reread this book every holiday season, and it was In a Holidays by Christina Lauren. There came a point during the month where I was actually worried I wasn't going to be able to pick this up, but I ended up finding the time and finishing it within 2 or 3 days because it's such a great book that I always fly through it. This was my 4th reread of In a Holidays. One of my favorite Christina Lauren books. I will reread it every holiday season, and it's always a 5-star read. And it was so fun because this year I actually got to see Christina Lauren on their tour for the True Love Experiment, and I got this copy signed and even told them how much I love this book and how I reread it every holiday season. Next, I read a book that really just ended up being a disappointment for me, and it was 1,000 Heartbeats by Kira Cass. I'm really bummed that I didn't like this book as much as I have some of her other books. You all know that The Selection is one of my favorite series, but ultimately this one was just downhill for me. I gave it 3 stars, which is just an okay meh rating for me. I felt like the romance wasn't very believable in this book and just ultimately didn't make any sense. While I love the Selection series and really hype up Kira Cass with the Selection series, I feel like her work is kind of going downhill for me, and it really just bums me out because I love her other books. So ultimately a 3-star read. This is also a really thick book. It is a standalone, so it's a complete story. But again, romance just didn't make any sense. And I definitely did not want to end the year on such a bummer read. So I did manage to squeeze in a graphic novel and another audiobook. So I read Saga Volume 11 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. I don't have too much to say about this graphic novel series. I've been with it since nearly the beginning, and I have been diligently reading every issue that comes out. I know we are past the halfway point with this graphic novel series, but it is very long. So what I want to do when all of the issues are out is do a full read through, because then I feel like the whole story will make more sense to me. I did not rate this book, but I will be continuing on in the series, and I will follow it through until the very end. And the final book that I was able to squeeze in on this last day of 2023 was Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake. Thank you to the Libro FM ALC program for providing me with an audiobook copy of this book in exchange for an honest review. This is the 3rd and final book in the Bright Falls trilogy, following 3 different people from this small town in Oregon called Bright Falls. And Iris Kelly has been a side character in the previous 2 books, but she's always been my favorite, and I was so excited for her book to come out. There was a ton of representation in this book, as there has been in the previous 2 books. It's always so great to see all the different representation that there is. And this book also included a theater element to it, which I wasn't expecting, but I thought was really cool to see. I'm going to link my full Goodreads review down in the description below, but I am so excited to see what else Ashley Herring-Blake releases in the future. I know she's going to be at the Love Y'all Romance Festival in February, and I will also be there, so I'm really glad that I was able to finish all 3 of the books prior to hopefully being able to meet her. I gave this one 4 stars. And that is everything that I was able to read during the month of December. I feel like being able to squeeze in that graphic novel and that final book right before the new year was just so perfect. I got everything done and I am just so happy. So that is all I have for this final video of 2023, and that is all I have for you today. I do have a bunch of content coming out throughout the next few weeks because of the new year content plus the end of year content and talking about a whole bunch of books. Make sure to stick around for all of that content that's going to be coming out across the next few weeks, and make sure you click subscribe so you can be updated for when I post those videos. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!
In the darkness, I don't feel so cold.